starting to get really curious and research and shit. And then
yeah,
I was partying at about 21 though.
Yeah, you gotta have a balance, you know. I mean, you don't really. Well, you ain't got to do. My sister always says you ain't got to do nothing but be black and die. So, like, all right, it worked. That's it. You know, so I'm with
That's
it.
hilarious.
Yeah, that's Jersey humor, man.
You're from New Jersey?
Yeah, born and raised. My family's from the South. They're mostly from South Carolina, Georgia, but I was born and raised in Jersey, mainly in Montclair and Newark. But I went to middle school in LA, so you know my whole
Oh shit.
My vibe is very. It's just very Cali. I don't know. That's what I get a lot anyway.
Very Biggie and Pac.
Yeah. Yeah. My mom was in the industry for a while, so you know it had a big effect on me. Yeah.
Doing what?
She did a lot of PR. She did wardrobe stuff like that. So
what?
yeah. That was mom. You know, busted a move in the '90s and whatnot. But
nice. All right. Well, we've been live for a few seconds. We had a nice smooth intro. Oh, is that a s'more? Thanks, man. Sir, do you have a napkin by chance?
No napkin, sir.
Cool. All right.
Make sure everything is good.
All
right, word. That was smooth. Shoot.
Welcome to Gibron Walker, everybody. We're doing it live. You guys probably seen his name pop up in the context of you. Oh, thank you. Sorry, my
glad to be here. Peace and love, tribe.
Yeah, we're gonna talk at least a couple of different things. Stoked to get the squad members on the live. Nikki, May, Elizabeth, Pandora, Alchemy. What up, folks? Hello. Yeah, everyone hit the like button so that the notification will be sent out to everyone. That's it. I'm pretty sure that's the trick. Everyone's gotta like it so that YouTube goes, oh, dope. Everyone likes it. Now let's continue notifying the rest of the channel.
Shit, I might as well hit a like myself. I got you.
I know. I don't either. Shit, I'll go ahead and hit a like.
Energy contribution, you know.
Yeah. All right. So you want to do a little introduction of yourself, a little something, or?
Word. What's good, everybody? Peace and love, tribe. My name is Gibron Walker. I'm from Jersey, first and foremost from Newark. That's what I always say to my friends and family. But I was raised, I went to school in Montclair and LA. Really, I've just been diving into the spiritual community because one, I want to get to know myself first and foremost, especially as a young Black man. That's the most important thing to me. I was raised in both the Christian and Muslim world. So I was exposed a lot in my youth to a lot of different opinions, a lot of different lifestyles, but it was all only so I can really immerse myself in what it is I was trying to find in me. So, you know, like my mom says, you got to find pleasure in your pain. So whatever it is, across the board, just trying to find self. That's it. That's all I am, really.
What was your gateway? What was your gateway plug into this? We all
Dick
have
Gregory.
that. What's that?
Dick Gregory, for sure.
Oh, really? For how come?
Yeah. Well, my grandfather was in the civil rights movement, and that really, you know, I grew up hearing a lot of stories. I grew up hearing a lot of the people he knew, he loved. If you you know that Who Killed Malcolm X documentary on Netflix?
I haven't seen it.
It's maybe 6 months old. He's in it. They put him in it because he had a connection with Newark, which was at one point, I guess, the Mecca of the Nation of Islam. So they had a huge connection. Him and Malcolm ran together a lot. They did a lot of stuff. But beyond that, I really, you know, I get called old soul a lot. And it's only because I have kind of an obsession, you know, almost somewhat just trying to get into that world, trying to see what it was like, trying to see what it was people really saw in themselves that made them just want to, you know, go out and fight for that kind of stuff, really put themselves out there. So I just wanted to find what it was that, you know, fit for me. And listening to Dick Gregory, you know, it really connected to that feeling. It felt like I was listening to my grandfather, but it also felt like I was listening to an older part of myself.
Nice.
So yeah, man, him first and foremost.
Nice. So do you do a lot of digging on ancient African lifestyles, like back to Mali and Timbuktu times? Like,
Oh yeah, for sure.
do
For
you?
sure.
Nice.
Especially like before I know in the last life or like the second to last life, we were getting into the whole etymology thing. And breaking down words has always been something I really loved. But then, watching you, watching Ashira, watching Q, I just got more and more interested. I was just like, there's got to be more to this stuff than just words, than just social aspects. There's got to be a deeper meaning behind it. So I just dived right in, man.
So when I asked you yesterday what you wanted to talk about, what, like, for whatever reason, spiritual warfare was one of the first things that you mentioned. Was it why did you get pulled towards that? Because I know that's part of this realm that we're in, this spiritual realm, but I haven't really checked, you know what I mean? For whatever reason, I just haven't really gone into that too much myself, past the surface level, you know what I mean? It's like,
really, I chose that specific phrase because recognizing what's going on. I guess you can't really, especially when it comes to stuff like politics and world affairs, people always try to categorize everything. And when you really know and see what's happening, you can't really separate one from the other. People, the whole dichotomy of it, people like to put stuff in categories to make it more comfortable for them to understand. Mm-hmm. When in reality, again, just like before, there's a deeper meaning to everything. So spiritual warfare came into mind with trying to understand, especially now in this whole COVID-19 crazy madness, trying to give people a real explanation as to what it is they're seeing, the specific verbiage that's being used, the symbolism behind everything, people like Trump, people like Bill Gates, all that kind of stuff. So it's spiritual. I chose spiritual warfare because I wanted people to get a little personal with it. If they got personal with it, then they understood that, it hit home. This hit everybody. This involves everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really it. Overall, okay. Because there's just so many avenues you can.
I was about to say start at the beginning.
All right, word. So my whole branch with this started growing up in the leftover aspects of the Nation of Islam. Mm-hmm. So I grew up in both the Christian and Muslim world, but predominantly Muslim because that's what I identified with the most, because that's what I saw the most. Like I grew up in a predominantly Black community when I was there in what people call it the mosque, but it's like most Muslims say masjid. And that's another thing, people don't try to make it more personal. Understanding the words that are being used, you understand the type of influence that's being put over you. So if you want to go into stuff like Egyptology, if you want to go into the study of Kush, Kemet, South Africa, all that kind of stuff, then you kind of have to, really you start at one point. People say Black history goes beyond slavery, but in order to start from the present, you have to start with slavery, because then you understand where we are now. So one aspect that I really want to focus on is the Native American aspect with Blacks in this country. And if you look up, there's this book by this dude named J.A. Rogers, and it was put together in the 30s, but published in the 60s. It's called Africa's Gift to the Americas, 1935. So if you look in that book, you see a lot of stuff that had to do with the Olmec civilization, stuff like that. And you start to see the connection between Blacks in America, or quote unquote African Americans, and their historical roots here, that go back thousands of years. Oh wait, hold up. The sound went out real quick. Hold up. Give me 1 second. Just want to make sure I fix this. Oh, it's back. All right, word.
What up, Yesenia Treasure? I am Gnosis Gnome Jeep.
Peace. But you were saying something that just cut out when you were saying it.
Oh yeah, you're bringing up the Olmecs. Don't they say the historians are like, well, this Mali dipped out with thousands of people. That what was the great kid? I can't remember his name. I just watched a really in-depth documentary, and he never came back. And they were like, "This is the omics." You know, they have the features are African, the lips, the head, like
Absolutely,
the art.
absolutely. That was so if you most people know Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa's predecessor, which was it was Musa bin. I need somebody to look that up for me. I can't remember the name.
John,
right
help
now.
us out. I know. I don't remember the name is either. They're.
It's Musa bin something, because I know Musa himself is just a title like Negus, but his predecessor, I think it was, he fortified 200 ships, 100 to hold passengers and then 100 to hold supplies.
Yeah.
And they dipped out for 2 years.
Uh-huh.
And then only one ship came back to Mali. And when the one ship came back to Mali, they had said that they had discovered the civilization, but they had gotten turned around in a storm. So when they came back to the king, who was the predecessor of Mansa Musa, he said, basically, he was like, all right, you came back, you didn't give me too much to go on, so I'm gonna have to do this myself. So he plucked Mansa Musa out. He was a cousin, I believe. He put him on the throne, and then he said, I'm gone, I'm out. And so if you look in the Olmec civilization, one, if you look at their hieroglyphs in terms of translation are very similar to Kemetic hieroglyphs. And it's not really just based on the whole pictorial part of it, but it's more of the spiritual sense. This is why I wanted to get into the whole spiritual warfare thing too, because everything relates on a spiritual level. So if you look at beings like in Egyptian mythology, Thoth is equated to, I might be saying this wrong, Quetzalcoatl, who was the god of knowledge and magic in the Olmec pantheon. And if you look in, I'm a huge follower of Seven Bomar, and Seven Bomar brings up the Popol Vuh, which is a text that's like a few thousand years older than the Bible itself, which kind of has the origination of the whole Cain and Abel story. And they're two brothers that came from a land that they say was far east, which is very similar in description to Kemet. So if you look at that connection, and when they come over, they bring, I believe they bring like a couple ships with them. But the connection is the culture at the end of the day. Whether you have a social or a political connection, it's still not enough for you when you really have to connect the cultural aspect of it too, because then you understand the customs. Like one way you define different tribes in Africa and tribes in the Americas is by the custom. People can tell the difference of who you are by your hair, the music,
jewelry, clothes, yeah.
Exactly. So when they find that those customs are very similar to the kingdoms of Mali, then you can't deny the connection. And one thing that people should also look up too, in Memphis, Tennessee, there was this woman, Bobby Hemmett talks about this. There was this woman who, she went to go visit this dying dude on this little island that was in the middle of one of the major rivers in Memphis. And the island was called Memphis. That's the whole reason that they call Memphis, Tennessee, Memphis. And it was in the inscriptions in a little house, you see that the island in and of itself was a meeting point for people who are coming over from Kemet to here. But it wasn't necessarily a expedition, much as it was a banishing point. So where you have histories of like prison colonies developing in the Americas, the original foundation of that is Kemet. Kemet pushed people because they didn't really believe in the whole.
So Kemet was sending prisoners here. Is that what you're saying?
They were banishing people, and they had set up colonies all over the world. So the whole aspect, they didn't really believe in trial by death or by jury or anything. They were just like, if you're really not going along with the customs and you have more of a negative aspect, you might as well just bounce. Because that was the hardest thing for people. If you're so connected as a people, being taken from your culture is the hardest thing there is to deal with.
I was just watching something on that was talking about banishment being worse than the death penalty. Even in like medieval times, the worst thing was to cut them out from their home, their land, their people.
Exactly.
Practically dead and alone,
I mean, that's really what it is. It's like, it's disconnecting a mother from a child, and a mother and a child's connection is like nothing else on this planet. So when you cut off the cord, you're cutting off the lifeline. You're cutting off how to, the type of food that you're used to. that goes into like your diet is everything. If you're used to a diet generationally, that's the information that's in your genes.
Yeah.
That can screw up your mind.
Yeah.
That screws everything up. But
so Chem's sending people around the world as prisoners. They got colonies everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, it was more than just I don't want to say prison colonies, but it was more than just banishment colonies. It was really
yeah. But in America, that was Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, because about Memphis and Egypt.
Yeah,
Memphis, Egypt, which is interesting. Not to get too off track, but if you look up Akhenaten had a brother named Thutmose. Akhenaten was pharaoh. Anywhere between 400 and 600 BC. But if you look up his family line, Akhenaten is more associated with Moses within the story in and of itself than the actual biblical character Moses. Because Akhenaten was the one who defined the whole monotheistic religion within Kemet. And they always had a concept of a source God. All of their deities were aspect of one God, but Akhenaten was the one who put forth the idea of the worship of Amun.
Mm-hmm.
Amun, as we know in Egyptian mythology, is God of the unseen. Yeah, that we'll get into that whole etymological breakdown. And you just gotta do that, But Akhenaten was the one who put forth the idea of the worship of Amun. He was kicked out. His successor was Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun, again, if you look at Thutmose, and if you think of the idea of the character of Moses is more connected with the idea of his brother Aaron, because Moses, in the histories of Egypt, was a priest. He wasn't really just a prince, he was a priest. Akhenaten is the idea of the Moses character who was banished. He was banished from Egypt because he solidified that whole idea of a singular deity. And it wasn't just worship. It was transferring their entire lifestyle around taking people from the idea of worship, because they had worshiped gods for so long. The whole point was to get them to integrate it into their lifestyle. And so think about it. If you have a priest class,
we're doing
exactly, they under his rulership.
So
the priest class kind of outranked the pharaoh in and of itself. The pharaoh was appointed by the priests. But if you have a pharaoh who comes up with a new idea of transforming the entire idea of civilization, you have a pushback.
Yeah.
Especially when you messing with somebody's money, and not just money in a sense of how we know. You messing with somebody's game, man. That's messing with somebody's
power,
control. Exactly. It's all about material control. Material control is what is happening right now, and that's just about the distribution of information. You spent college to Egyptians is 40 years.
Damn.
So you weren't out of there until 40. So think about that. If I'm here for 40 years, but outside of that, you have to be handpicked by the priest class too. Everybody is involved with it because it's more of a communal act. But if you're focused around one chain of distribution of information, then you control who can do what, when, and where. So if you can do that, then you can control the outcome of an entire civilization. But overall, yeah, man, not to get too off tangent. Like I said, I already told you I'm long-winded. This I can do that all day long.
Don't worry, man. That's why we have these.
Yeah.
But someone's asking if you listen to Brother Panic lectures.
Oh, I checked him out a few times. I'm more of a Bobby Hemmett, Seven Bomar. I really mess with Q Reeves, but I don't really. Say again.
I was gonna say I haven't really checked out Hemmett. I've seen a couple of videos of his, and there's a lot of people that come up often that I haven't had time to dive into yet.
Yeah.
Is that a good one though? Is Hemmett a good one to dive into?
Most definitely. People are a little turned off because he's connected with the Afrocentric movement. But and you know, people's idea of supremacy and inferiority, you know, they don't really like to mess with that. I don't either. But one thing I will say is that in this community, because we are all connected, people like to push the idea of the importance of what being Black is in a sense of nature. And you have to separate the lines of superiority and inferiority within that. Because think about it. The entire system of Egypt and Kush, or Kemet and Kush, was around alchemy. Alchemy was the study of the universal molecule. The universal molecule is melanin. Melanin is the molecule that holds the density of everything within the universe, all information that is possible, can, will be, has been, all that, you know? But when you try to separate that from a people, then you're cutting off their identity. And it's not to say that they hold something over somebody else. But again, being real, nobody went through what we went through. So if we constantly have to defend ourselves as to say, well, we deserve to know this, but if it hurts your feelings, then I guess we don't need to. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a line to be drawn there. People don't need to bring the idea of better or lesser in a system in order to learn self. You know, self supersedes that. If you know yourself, you don't need to prove it. But yeah, Bobby Hemmett, in terms of information, raw information, yeah, most definitely. Bobby Hemmett. If you want to go into the whole scholarly system of Sheikh Anta Diop, Dr. John Henrik Clark, Ivan Van Sertima, they go very deep, but they go from the social aspect. And if you're trying to attack it in these modern times, you need both the social and the spiritual aspect. So Bobby Hemmett for sure.
Nice. I gotta check him out. How do you feel about the evolution of man as far as race going back to Sumeria, say? Like, how do you feel on the correlation between Sumeria, Babylon, Assyria, all the way up to Egypt?
They're all connected.
Yeah.
All of them. All of them. If you, one thing Q brought up, especially when you're looking at Lemuria and Atlantis, Lemuria and Atlantis is more important than a lot of us really let on, because it's the basis of human evolution. If you look at, if you go to Egypt right now, and this is something I checked out a lot when listening to Billy Carson and Seven Bomar too. If you go to Egypt right now and you dip your hand underneath the sand near the Giza Plateau and the Giza Complex, you'll start to pull up balls of glass. Dense, big, thick balls of glass.
Really? Right now?
Right now. You can go there right now and dip your hand down into the sand. You can dig up 15, 35, 60 feet, and you'll find dense amounts of glass. Now, what is that from? That's intense heat hitting the surface. You know, that's like, that's the you can equate that to rocket fuel hitting the sand in Florida or in Texas.
Yeah.
And producing, what is it, like 3,000 kelvins, something like that? Something to produce sand into glass. And that, like, you can kind of, if you look at a lot of pyramid texts and a lot of temple texts, you can kind of assert that has a lot to do with what we would call now nuclear warfare.
Yeah.
And so if you understand that, if you look at stuff like in old Vedic texts and you see the way they describe human beings, we were a lot hairier. Now, what's one thing that would cause the loss of hair over time?
Radiation.
That's right. So if you think about it, right, most people, especially in the Black community, when it comes to the whole historical context of everything, a lot of times you'll hear evolution isn't my thing. You know, we weren't no damn apes and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah, not solid. I guess evolution was a bad word to use.
No. That's a real word. You can't. It's all good, man. You can't really. Again, you can't always just defend yourself because somebody doesn't like something. You know, you gotta just keep it going, keep it fluid. Yeah. Evolution is a real thing, but it's just that a lot of times it's not told in the way that's applicable to us as people. You know, people, again, they like to categorize. The dichotomy of everything is splitting it up into this or this. This happened then and this happened then, when the reality is fluid. It's connected. Everything is connected. If people knew that Kennedy being killed was directly connected to the development of the space age, which was directly connected to the formation of Israel, which was directly connected. You know what I'm saying? If people knew all these connections, then they wouldn't spend so much time trying to put everything and everybody into a category. So people got to get a lot of that misinformation crap out of their head, because what they think they know, they don't. And that's okay. I was the same way. I still am trying to get a lot of that shit out of my head. It's all good. It's just about being open, you know? But evolution is very real. It's just not in the way that we think. For me, when it comes to Sumeria, Kemet, Kush, or Punt, what you're looking at is you're looking at the spread of a people from the southern hemisphere upward. And what do they say a lot of times when you're looking at it from a historical context? They'll say they found some bones near the center of Mozambique, the center of Zambia, and these bones are 3 million, 2 million years old. The closest thing to Homo sapien before it became Homo sapien sapien. They like to make things very convenient. You know, they like to prop it up for you. But again, you have to question that if I'm getting my information from a singular source, from the quote unquote specialists, scientists, if I'm getting everything from a singular source, and this is still the same singular source that poisons my food, my water, my air, there's something that has to be questioned. You know, that's just the raw truth of it. Now, okay. One thing I really love that Q Reeves brings up is that if you separate the body, right, the mental, the emotional, and the instinctive, and the spiritual, the mental would be associated with the reptilian. The mental is associated with the reptilian because that's cold thought. That's nothing but thought. Thought without emotion is cold. You know, it's heavy. It's dense. It's calculative.
I was gonna say it's robotic. Yeah.
Exactly. And the word robot is connected to the description of a reptilian. So, okay. The mental is associated with the reptilian. The emotional is associated with the mammalian. The spiritual is associated with the amphibinoid, and the instinctive is associated with the insectoid. Now, if you want to chop that up into saying that we all are spliced with different genetic variants like animal DNA and all that, that's very possible. I believe it, just in seeing how people have certain facial features. You know, like look at Snoop Dogg, just like Snoopy. You know what I'm saying? And I don't take anything by coincidence. But what I will say, okay, take this for instance. Harvard did a study on telomeres. Telomeres are little caps that are placed on your chromosomes. I don't know if it's like the 20th or the 22nd chromosome, but it has to do with aging. There's a cap on our chromosomes that limits our aging process to exactly 120. If you look in Sumerian texts, beyond Sumerian texts, if you look in the Bible, at the time of Babylon, it talks about God seeing what they were doing. You know, you might as well question that. Exactly. Question that shit yourself too. Why would God see everybody working together, having all this damn fun,
Think
and
about
just
that often.
tear that shit down? You know, like that's just like But he said, "My seed shall no longer abide in men, and your years shall be limited to 120."
That's right. I forgot about that passage.
Exactly. So if you look at that, and then you look at this study that Harvard did, they determined that the healthiest human being on this planet cannot live past 120 years. Then you see, okay,
savage.
You know, this is genetic splicing. Now, this is something that's been capped on our chromosomes probably within the last 2 million years. Now, if we're thinking of evolution, shit don't just happen within a week, within a month, with even a few hundred years. This is something that takes time. So obviously, if it took time, and then you have something like that mentioned in the Bible that's less than 2,000 years old, clearly you have interference there. Clearly you have something else present.
Yeah.
You know, damn, I just thought about something that's crazy. When you think about crystals and metals, because we had brought this up in the other live, and you think about how they relate to the body, Crystal is associated with the brain. The brain is produced of thousands of different layers of crystal. Metals are in your blood. Again, I'm always going to, none of this shit just comes from me. I'm always going to mention people like Hugh Reeves, Bobby Hemmett, everybody, because credit is due to where credit is due. But anyway, if you look at the behavior of crystals and metals, and you see that metals reflect energy or electricity, metals reflect a certain product or a certain added layer of magnetism, and crystals absorb. And then you look at the shape of the brain. What does the brain and the spinal cord look like all together?
A bunch of shit, like the neurons, all like the crazy. Looks like a brain, or looks like little fuck.
It kind of, it look. I mean, you could say it looks like a bunch of shit. You could say it looks like a worm, all this other kind of shit. But really, if you look at a brain and you look at the spinal cord, it looks like one big ass sperm. So if you think of that, if you think of sperm, what color is sperm? Sperm is white. What color is your blood? Your blood is red. In a lot of Hermetic texts, as you know, when they talk about what is it, the white and the red moon and the different properties of the two, or what it is you'll expect in the end days and all that other stuff, that's very significant. But if you just bring it down to an applicable level in the body, sperm is void. Before a sperm is dead until it leaves when it hits the prostate. When a man is ejaculating and it's traveling towards a woman's egg, as soon as it hits the prostate, it's electrified.
What? I didn't know that.
Exactly. That's the thing. They won't say that. They won't say that kind of stuff. Because if you know your history, if you know your composition, then you know what the hell is going on around here. But anyway, if you look at that, as soon as that happens, it's electrified. Now, that doesn't just mean, somebody done jolted that shit with like a few shocks or something like in a hospital. You literally absorb the electricity present in this body. So one thing Q often says is, like, people ask what happens when you die. You leave your body, you go into another body. You can get as literal as figurative as you want, but everything needs an egg to survive. The body is feminine. Everything about the body is feminine. It's the holding place. It's the womb. If you look up in the sky, shit is black as hell. That's the darkness, the dampness of the womb. If you look at the earth is deep, it's dark. The richest soil on earth is volcanic soil. It's black.
Black, yep.
Black is what? Black is the womb. So everything is in search for an egg. Now the sperm is void. The sperm holds information from the father, but in reality, it's not complete until it develops the information from the mother. Now, what does it travel through? It travels through blood. It travels through different reflecting metals. Now, what are they doing? They're bouncing the electricity off of one another and off of this sperm. When the man ejaculates, they release 500 million sperm. That's 500 million niggas just chasing one line, to get to where they're going. My homeboy, this is my brother's man, my brother Rod, all day. Nip, the marathon continues. When we come up with these phrases, everything comes from somewhere. The marathon is you trying to find an egg. The marathon is you trying to find another body. If you have a body, especially in this life, that's power. Why? That's a complete formation of information. That's information. One thing Dick Gregory always says is money is not power. Education is not power. Information is power. You receive information through light, and whether people acknowledge it or not, you receive information through darkness. Information is the key to everything. So if you look at that, sperm enters an egg. It's fertilized by the womb. Okay, so let's take that and apply that to the outside world, to nature, to Lemuria and Atlantis. Another thing Q talks about. Not trying to steal your shit, my G. I'm giving you, okay, I got
pop
you.
out like, yo,
homeboy came on, violating. Nah, I got you, bro. But if you look at that, in Lemuria, their main focus was reflecting nature to become that which surrounds you. People, as you would often see, they tried to mimic wolf packs. They tried to mimic bears. They tried to mimic fish. They tried to mimic everything, because in order to be a thing, you got to know a thing, as he would say. You got to know a thing to know a thing, Yeah. So That was the reflective part of it. But Atlantis, what do we know about Atlantis? Atlantis is associated with crystalline technology.
Yep.
So their whole point was absorbing, capturing energy. Their whole point was finding a way to harness it through trapping it. Now, that's not necessarily a negative connotation, but what it is holding on to information. Light is information. Crystals are charged with electricity. If I can charge something like your chakras, another thing Q would say, chakra, your chakra, you're shocked, you're charged. That's the centers, the planets within you charged with that form of information. What you have is an energy source. If I can develop my own energy source full of the limitless information that occurs in cells, that occurs in molecules, again, everything has to do with the black molecule, with melanin. If I can produce something that can by itself produce melanin, I can create whatever the hell I want to. And that's the basis of what it is we're going through now on this planet. Everything has to do with melanin. One thing, because that connects to everything we wanted to talk about, the spiritual warfare side. One thing I did a little bit of research on, just so, again, like I said before, I'm not trying to talk out of my ass. But if you look at, Ashir was talking about the differences between eumelanin, neuromelanin, and phenomelanin. Everything in this life is produced from and then produces melanin. It just depends on the level of melanin. Neuromelanin has to do with the melanin produced in the brain that comes from the pineal gland, the secreted oils, the secreted elements within the brain. There's several pineal glands. This is the pineal body. A woman's clitoris is, to me, I could be wrong, but to me, the most powerful pineal gland there is, because it has to do with pure manifestation. And on the physical plane, that's where the real power is. Again, everything wants a body. So if everything wants a body, you got to go after something that can willingly produce and control the manifestation of a body. Okay, so let's look at what receives neuromelanin. Something called the substantia nigra. It's located in the midbrain. So it's kind of like the lower part, like right back here, right where the pineal gland kind of has its little seat back here. The substantia nigra controls part of your motor functions. What else receives neuromelanin? The locus coeruleus. What are we going through right now? We're going through the coronavirus. The locus coeruleus. What is it?
That's in the insect?
Locus, right? Locus, the locus coeruleus. The term locus, especially in Vedic scripts, has to do with great. It's called, its meaning is great. Okay. In Spanish, people associate it with crazy, but really what it is big. Oh. But again, trying not to disassociate shit too much, it's all has to do with a concept, your perception. So locus is just something that is of the utmost importance to you. Substantia nigra means black substance. Locus coeruleus, essentially, just to give it a regular kind of function, means great plasma. What is the locus coeruleus? What are the principles and the controls of the locus coeruleus? Neuroplasticity, posture, balance, cognitive control. It controls the sleep and the waking cycles. It controls your attention, your memory, your behavior flexibility and inhibition and stress. It literally is the foundation of your working understanding of emotion. Your raw production of emotion, as we know, comes from your lower chakras, but your understanding and your use of those emotions come up here in your upper chakras. This is what is produced to control that. This is the filtration system. And these are the housings of neuromelanin. So if we understand the part that melanin plays, if we want to connect this to spiritual warfare and to pyramid science like we were before, then we're going to go to something called, what are we talking about? Anthocyanin.
At one point we were on a different live. We were.
Yeah. We were talking about a whole lot of shit, man. A whole lot of shit. Give me 1 second.
Brother.
Much love. Okay, anthocyanin and thiocyanate. Thiocyanate and cyanide are found in a lot of different plants. Now you use cyanide and thiocyanate, cyanide and thiocyanate, to break down and receive gold and silver and copper deposits from plants. They're naturally found in plants. They're naturally found in plants because it's produced from melanin. If you think of the we were talking about anthocyanin before. We were talking about them producing the color of that which makes berries, that dark and deep blue, that purplish blue makes them red. All of that has to do. Okay. That has to do with dopamine. Dopamine is found in everything. I don't care what anybody says. There's multiple levels to dopamine, just like there's multiple levels to melanin. Dopamine is, if you want to think of it like that, that sort of charge in melanin. You have norepinephrine and epinephrine. Mm-hmm. Those are all different composites of adrenaline. Again, adrenaline. Adrenaline has to associate with two things: fertility and vitality. Now, if we're thinking of fertility and vitality, this goes back just to what we were talking about before: blood and sperm. This goes back to crystals and metals. And if we understand the part that plays, then we understand things like organ trafficking. We understand things like the coronavirus. This is all about the production of bodies. Why? To house something in those bodies. One thing you'll hear a lot, especially in the South, is that you'll hear people, I don't want to go too far off because I want to keep a stable line, man. You already know, now you see how my head.
We could take a note. We could put that in the back pocket if you need.
Yeah, just for a second. Let's bring it to modern day right now, or at least within this time period. Let's go to Trayvon Martin and Kendrick Johnson. Kendrick Johnson was that kid in Valdosta, Georgia, who was found rolled up in a gym mat in his high school. And when his parents, and this was 2012, and his parents, when they went to bury him, they found stitchings all along his side, on his chest, near his stomach. And when they went in, they found that his entire body was stuffed with newspaper. His organs were gone. Now, check this out. The same undertaker who handled his body handled Trayvon Martin's body. Now, understand, Valdosta, Georgia, that's near central Georgia. Trayvon Martin is in southern Florida. That's damn near 700 to 1,000 miles away from each other. How do you have the same undertaker handle those two bodies? The same undertaker who handled those bodies was the same undertaker who handled that girl's body who was found in Chicago, stuffed in that, I think it was either a freezer or a closet in Chicago, in a hotel in Chicago. Her family checked her body out, stitchings all on her side, on her stomach, on her chest, organs gone. When you understand the power of melanin, you understand the power to literally create life. So again, I bring this back to understanding the spiritual world and the spiritual community. You cannot separate Black people from that idea. People get caught up in the idea of superiority and inferiority, but it's not about that. It's understanding who you are. If you don't know who you are, you don't know where you're going. If you don't know where you came from, you can't go anywhere. Yeah. Melanin is the foundation of that. It's in the trees, it's in the soil, it's in the air you breathe, it's in everything. It's in the it's in what we're talking through right now. Melanin is the spark of life. But, all right, bring it full circle. Okay, we were talking about pyramid science before. There's three main layers to a pyramid.
There's three what?
Three main layers to a pyramid.
Uh-huh.
And if you understand the structure of the pyramid and what they were trying to do, if you look at the shape of the pyramid, they were trying to round the cubic shape of it and cube the rounded shape of it, which essentially, if you understand the function, that's pi. Uh-huh. The full equation of every single pyramid ever developed in Egypt is pi. The full equation of every single pyramid that is in South America, that is in North America, that's along their pyramids along the Mississippi River.
Regardless of the angles of the pyramids and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Interesting. I didn't know that.
So now what are the three main layers of those pyramids? You got stone, You got metal and you got crystal. Now, if you have crystal and metal in pyramids that are thousands and thousands and thousands of years old, then you understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to create an energy source. It's much more than that, obviously. It's much more than that. Yeah. But again, it's about energy. What is the main problem in our society today beyond sickness and hunger? It's energy. People want to create a sustainable and renewable source of energy. And melanin is at the foundation of that. Spiritual warfare comes back to trying to manipulate melanin. Melanin is its own conscious substance. If you understand tribes and their idea of sickness, the further and further and further back you go in time, sickness was a foreign thing to them. You could will yourself out of sickness. The common cold was not a thing 200 years ago. Flus, outbreaks have been happening over the past 2,500 years. But in those specific outbreaks, what always happens around them? Wars. Always. That's the controlling of a substance. That's the permeation of melanin. If I can permeate your melanin, I got you. I can control you. It's not necessarily mind control. It's not just a bodily control. It's the control of your energy. Think about the food most people eat now. People eat food. They don't even know what the hell is in their food. They'd be surprised to find out that all these kidnappings, all these disappearing bodies, all these babies, the children everywhere around the world has to directly do with what's going into your food.
How?
If you look at America's idea of food production before even just before World War II and even before that, it was all focused around agriculture. In wartime, you have rations, right? You have foodstuffs. You have stuff that's stuffed with artificial energy producers. You got chocolate. You got different forms of butter. You got fat producers. Fat soaks up energy. All they're trying to do is thicken you up, get you ready to follow orders. Think about what fat does to the brain. It dampens your level of individual thought. It dampens your understanding of your own identity. It dampens your control of your own energy. So if you understand that and the switching of the paradigm of what food culture looks like in this country, then you understand what it is that they're trying to do. It's connected to these missing bodies because they're okay. I'm not trying to gross people out and I'm not trying to turn people off. But again, we got to get real. We can't dance around a lot of shit anymore. It just doesn't work like that. There's people in people's food, straight up.
I just came across that, man, a couple days ago. I don't know how, but it was talking about, I think it was from aborted fetuses is where they were that's what it was, yo. It was a flavoring ingredient. It was coming from aborted children. I just read that within the past 48 hours. I was fucking blown away, man. I know the craziness that goes on, and I know how dark shit gets, and I'm always like, oh yeah, it didn't surprise me that something that wild is going on. But that particular one, I did not know was going on.
And it's hard for people to hold on to because it's like when you realize that, then you're inexplicably tied to the problem.
As soon as you know.
But think about it. There are people who know and don't change a damn thing. There are people who understand that what their taxes pay for are bombs, are all types of explosives, all type of weapons development, all types of the shit that goes into poisoning our food comes from what we do with our tax money.
We pay our prison guards.
That's one thing, again, referencing Dick Gregory. Back in the 90s, what you saw was a rise in placing prisoners in the workforce. Companies like Victoria's Secret, Walmart, Amazon, all these different types of companies that exist now, and a lot of them that have had a hold on the industry for the past 40, 50, 60 years have used prison labor. Prisoners on average get paid within the past 20 years, it went from like 30 cents to like 80 cents an hour, some crazy shit like that. Most collect callers. Most collect callers, 68% of collect callers are inmates. Those are inmates, people who are asking you, are you going to be on time for your payment this month? For your car payments, for errands, furniture, for all this other random shit. Those are prisoners.
Dude, that's fucking savage.
Think about it. It's easy. It's just that easy, and it's in people's face. Think about how much money they pump into and then get back from private prison.
Oh well, yeah, it's been no joke that's always been a for-profit industry.
And then when you see who's invested in it, then that should just set something off in people's brains. You have the NBA, the NFL, the NHL. You got Walmart. You got McDonald's. All these different people invested in the private prison industry. Why? If not to use the force, but if not to use the workforce that's attached to it. That's free labor.
They are using the force though, dog. They're just using the dark side of it.
Hell yeah, man. Hell, this ain't no game, man. Hell yeah.
I had no idea that the fucking NFL and the big sports corporations were invested.
And it's not like
what a fucking noteworthy thing. Like you hear that, you should be like, oh, I need to inquire further, not just let it go. You know what I mean?
And it's not like they hide the shit anyway. It's not like they hide it from you. If you could look it up, this is what I always tell people.
The distractions are phenomenal, man.
Exactly. And you in the life. So if the distractions are there and you don't care, then you're a part of the problem.
Yeah.
You are a part of the problem. And if people can get out of their own damn way and understand that they're part of the problem and admit to themselves that they're part of the problem, then they can be a part of the solution. The solution is you. The solution is in it. Bro, what do you do? What is your specialty? You are horticulture center. You are at the epicenter of your own production. Everyday people could do this shit. If people started planting trees in New York today, that's an investment. that's a real return on an investment. If people produce their own stocks, it's not hard. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff about the drying up of resources, the scarcity of clean water, we can fix that shit overnight. But the point is, people don't want to, and they don't want to admit that they don't want to. They got comfortable in this shit. If you go to the South right now and you ask people who are anybody over the, no, you good. If you ask anybody in their 60s and in their 70s and ask them, do you remember the smell of a paper mill? And they said, yeah, that's the worst smelling shit in the world. There's nothing like the stink of a paper mill. But the people who work in it can't smell it. They've been in it every day of their lives. They don't know what the hell that smells like because they're so used to it. That's America. To use another Dick Gregory reference, that's America. But America's not willing to admit that. America's not willing to admit that they are part of the problem. And they're not willing to admit that it's too far gone for America to fix the problem.
So who fixes the problem?
There is no problem to fix anymore. It's fixing itself. The point is that where do you stand in the aftermath? Okay. An everyday person couldn't get on a damn rocket and go and shoot down a 5G satellite. That's not practical, and we know that's not practical. What
also illegal? Don't do that.
Don't do that. I don't recommend.
Not condone things. No. Shooting down satellites.
This is not. I do not approve this message.
No, that's the main thing I've been teaching people because I've been getting deep, especially since coronavirus. I've never been this deep in the deep state, and I'm just like, I thought I was deep, but I haven't and still haven't even scratched the surface. And it's like, all right, well, what can I do? People are like, well, what the fuck can we do? It's like, learn how to harvest water or dig a well if you live somewhere it rains all the time, and learn how to grow food. That's it.
That's right.
Find the top 4 producing veggies in your area and learn how to get water. And like, if 80% of the population is self-sufficient, that's where the control comes from. Like you're saying, the food and the water.
Exactly.
Control us, you know.
America is 2/3 farmland. What the hell do they think? You know what I'm saying? This country that takes up damn near Shit, I was about to say 2/4. That takes up half a damn continent.
2/4.
2/4. That sounds really. Yeah, 12/24. That sounds real academic. But if this thing that takes up half a continent is 2/3 farmland, your answer is right in front of your damn face. And again, it all goes back to fertility and vitality, sperm and blood. If you think about what's most associated with the Vatican, especially in this times now, is pedophilia, molestation, all these cases that have been coming out over the past 40 years, cases that have never been touched are about molestation, but it's still deeper than that. If a church, not even just a church, if certain people within it can cover something up this deep for this long, then there's got to be more to it. There's got to be something else beyond them just getting a fix of something that disgusting. There has to be a reason behind it. The younger the male child, the more, for lack of a better term, the more powerful the production of the sperm.
Yeah.
And that's what it is they're looking for. If you look at the organ market, men's organs sell more than women's organs, sell for more than women's organs. If you look at, again, I'm going to be doing this shit a lot anyway, but just to reference Dick Gregory again, if you ask a black cop in a black neighborhood where you have a series of drive-bys, they'll tell you that 90 to 98% of those drive-bys are headshots.
What?
Now think about it. Look, that's what I'm saying. Everybody on here, look it up. Go ahead. You got it. I don't say anything to anybody anymore that they can't look up. I can't waste my time with it anymore. If you look at those statistics, think about it. If I'm driving at 30 miles an hour, how the hell can I, what the hell kind of SEAL Team 6 military training shit? I can't do that shit. I'm an everyday nigga in the hood. How can I at all believe the statistics of us out here killing our own in these streets like that? And okay, say that's true. Say that's real. Think about the statistics of how many men versus women are killed. If we hard up on the idea of us being these hard ass niggas, these dudes who can do whatever the hell we want, we got it like that. I'm gonna go shoot me somebody just because I can. Oh, this nigga pulled some shit on over me. I'm gonna take him out. It don't matter. I'm gonna take out his whole family. Why aren't they killing women at the rates that they're killing men, women and babies? Why? I'm not saying I want them to, but I'm saying think about it. Why is it happening at the rates that they're happening? It's because they're not going after something that doesn't serve that market. This is about blood and sperm. More people donate blood now than they did 60 years ago. So they don't need as much blood as they need sperm. Who has the highest production? Think about sperm. Again, this is a sperm. Sperm is, if we're talking again about crystals and metals, this is about electricity and magnetism. This is about holding and producing energy. Sperm receive that electric charge, and then they have enough, what is it? I think one sperm and then one drop of water has enough electromagnetic energy in it to tear down an 11-story building, to transfer that energy, to tear down an 11-story steel building. Think about that. And then think about your brain. What do they always equate the brain to? A computer that would have to be the size of 7 city blocks. The energy output in that's nothing but a giant ass sperm cell. So of course, this is tied to Black youth. This goes back to melanin. Melanin is the foundation of both. But what the hell is the point of me coming on here and speaking to you who produce this crazy amount of information for everybody to just have to do something with? You changed your life. Talk about it all the time. You did things differently. You shook shit up because you weren't satisfied. You wanted more. You wanted to understand more. You wanted more from your life. But if everybody's receiving this information and doing nothing with it, going to get a damn burger down the street, that's probably got somebody baked into that shit, going to buy some clothes, going to buy whatever to produce more tax money for all this other extra shit. If you're just gonna go do that in the first place, then I might as well shut the hell up.
Yeah.
What does it serve? people are, especially Black people, they're docile to a point of non-existent self-defense. They're docile.
That's the fluoride.
That's the egg. There you go. There you go, man. There you go. There you go. It's there. The truth is there. The calcification. Dick Gregory, again, I got to.
He speaks on the calcification of the pineal gland? No shit.
What is he? A book he came out with 30 years ago. The Callus on My Soul.
No shit.
What are calluses? Calluses are developed when you have enough pressure put onto your, like, think about bunions and shit on your feet. Pressure, that hard, that tension, that shit that develops such a level of swelling in the body that it pushes the oxygen to the surface. It's not getting enough anyway, so it has to push what it can to the area that's most needed. Skin cells is very important, but it pushes the oxygen to the surface. That's what makes it hurt, because you're losing the oxygen in one place and pushing it to a centered area where it knows it can preserve the toe, the ankle, the foot, whatever. So when it does that, it turns into a white, chalky, hard, like kind of breaking substance. Now, if you think about that with the pineal gland, if the pineal gland calcifies, it's pushing all the oxygen to the surface because it's losing it. The calcification is the hardening, the drying out. There is no moisture, there is no water. Water is another form of melanin. Everything connects to this. Since we're going to talk about oxygen, every element is another aspect or another form of melanin taken in a different way. If we're going to talk about that, then we're going to talk about the coronavirus. I don't want to use the exact verbiage to get you taken off or nothing, but
we're far past taken off at this point.
And shit, damn COVID-19. I'm calling you out, COVID-19. If you're going to talk about that, what is one thing that most doctors now are saying about the behavior of this virus? They're saying this doesn't look like no damn virus. People are perplexed. One thing they're saying is that the equivalent of what it is doing, what is it attacking? It's attacking your lungs the most. It's your respiratory system. It's getting fucked up from this the most. What's happening? It's stopping the processing of oxygen in the body. Now think about that. It's stopping the process of oxygen in the body. You can no longer receive oxygen in your lungs, so it has to come from somewhere else. So if you have any other complications in your body, if you have high blood pressure, if you have a problem with your heart, if you have any other problem, everything in your body runs on oxygen.
Depends on that breath of life.
Exactly. The pranayama, this is all about melanin. It's the transference of the energy of melanin. Everything is produced from it. So if it can stop one aspect of it, it shuts the whole damn machine down. Now, what are they also saying? This looks like what? Radiation sickness. Radiation sickness. What is this disease called? Or virus, or whatever the hell you want to call it. It's called the coronavirus. What is a corona? A corona, shout out Q, is a layer of plasma. It's a layer of plasma that surrounds the sun's surface. It's a layer of plasma that's in the body. That has to do with what? The blood.
It's also the ring around the penis.
That's called the corona. And think about that.
Now this whole conversation, I was like, oh fuck, it's also that. Damn, that connects to everything else he was saying.
Now, if you want to bring this to a more spiritual level, in a lot of Eastern European cultures, what you have is you have the mention, and this in predating Christianity, what you have is a lot of cultures with practices around celebrating goddesses with the name Corona attached to it. Corona Lupa, Corona Arctura, even Corona damn Diana. Okay, everything that surrounds this is speaking on the processes of the body. You know, studying Hermetic texts, everything goes back to relating what we see in the world that's posed from an outside view relating it to the body, relating it to the innards, to the chakras, to the respiratory, cardiovascular, the spinal system, everything. It's about the body. In Egypt, every damn temple they have ever built mimicked the designs of the body. This has to do with the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Who is the most oppressed being on this planet? It's the Black woman. The Black woman, bar none. Nobody has gone through what a Black woman has gone through in any part of the world. Nobody. What is she? Again, like I said, looking up into the sky, looking down on the ground, she is the body. She is the womb. The closest representation, again, to me, in my personal opinion, to God is a Black woman. And overall, women in general, women are the foundation of nature. Everything, think about how much we associate to women in nature. The she's, the hers, given to machines, to boats, to cars, to planes, the things that get you to where you're going, to plants, the processes of information. In older tribal cultures, the person who you came to the most for information was the grandmother. If you think of the relevance of the maiden, the mother, and the crone, the daughter, the mother, and the grandmother, the processes of information in its multiple layers, what you're looking at is the behavior of the genes, the blood. The blood is associated with the woman. In most cultures, in Al-Islam, in Judaism, and even in studying people's history through slavery, they tracked everything to the mother. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
That's the divine feminine. That's blood. Sperm, the father. That's an energy source. You have the spirit, you have the soul. They come together. The pineal gland is associated with the soul. The study of psychology, Saku or Seku. Seku has nothing to do with the damn mind. Seku means soul. If you look in anime nowadays, if you look at stuff that has to do with spheres that were called the orbs of Seku or all this other shit, that has to do with the soul. The soul is the divine feminine. The soul has been repressed. Think about the way they describe America. America is soulless. It's an emotionless state of physical labor.
Look who we idolize those people. Elon Musk, for example, we idolize, and he's nothing. You listen to him talk. He sounds like a robot when he talks, man.
That nigga is a psychopath. Okay,
I'm low key starting to think so too.
He's crazy. Did you check out that video of David Icke that was going around that was being shut down? Yeah. Okay.
You know, I'm calling it now, and I'll try to word this right so I don't get dinged. But they're saying there's gonna be a second wave, right? They're like, oh, there's gonna be a big second wave in a few months. This afternoon, I saw an article that said Sir Musk is only a few months away from launching his planet blanketing 5G low orbit satellite software. I was like, so I'm calling it now. I'm saying, wouldn't it be interesting if that so-called second wave hit right? Because they're both coming in a few months at the same time as him going online with his 40,000 low orbit 5G satellites that connect to the million plus fucking ground.
He gave a time period too when he said December. Now he said December.
He did.
He said December. He said December. Think about that. Now, when did they say this whole second wave was supposed to come? You just mentioned it. They said in the wintertime.
Yeah, well, fall, winter, it's up for grabs. But both the article I read didn't say December. It said he's a few months away from being ready to launch. Didn't say that he will launch in a few months, but it said that he's ready and he should be ready in a few months.
That whole projection. The reason I say December, him and
Before he said that though.
I'm trying to figure out this lady's name. Melanie Doors, who's a part of this communal organization that has the rights to the patenting of 5G technology. 5G, the fifth wave. In their movie that came out, or something called The Fifth Damn Wave, with
The Fifth Element.
The fifth.
The multipass.
What is the number 5 in numerology associated with?
5 is the fifth. is ether, right? It's
That's right.
the fifth element. Well, the fifth element.
It's ether, and ether is the base of ether connects to both blood and sperm.
It's like ether's the connecting point. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, if we want to, and again, and I look, there can be no discrepancy. I put the nigga's name right here too because I wrote it down. Q Reeves. I got you, man. Now he says 5 has to do with travel and unpredictability. Now, if you want to go into a more alchemical understanding of 5 has to do with resurrection. 5 is that's right, the heart. The heart. 5. If you understand the levels of the chakras, 5 is really associated with the heart. They would say the throat, but no. 5 is the heart because the heart is associated with the production and the release of emotion. The control of that emotion, the filtration of that emotion, shout out Aset Ewaku, comes from the sacral.
Mm-hmm.
But the heart is the source well of that energy. Now, what the hell has been happening to people all over the country who have been dying due to coronavirus? A lot of them are what? Their hearts are giving out. Depending on the frequency, and David Icke mentioned this too, one thing that they were trying to control was the frequency released from 5G technology. They were trying to amp up the hertz frequency. They were trying to push it to 60. They already have. There's no mistaking of that. With what's going on right now, they already have. Already. Now, what does that do? That shuts down the production of oxygen in the body. That shuts down the filtration of the water levels in your body. We're 75% water. But it's not just water in the sense of just simply hydrogen and oxygen. These are the waters, the primordial waters. This has to do with saline. This has to do with a lot of shit. But again, it has to do with blood and sperm. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's right there. And I don't neither one of us needs to say too much going beyond that, because if people see this, if they see this in the everyday life, one thing I wanted to talk about before too, just to get a new topic going, really to give it a breather. Before we were talking about colors and the chakras, like when we were in that live a few days ago, and I was in there and I was talking about the system of colors associated with the chakras that are usually associated with the rainbows. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. But people always forget black and white. They always forget black and white. Always. They understand the true purpose of black and white, then they'll cut that superiority and inferiority racist bullshit out in an instant. White is the seed. White has to do with reflection. It's void on the inside because it receives all the nutrients from the outside. Mm-hmm. But white is the reflection. Black is the absorption. Mm-hmm. Now, what the hell does that sound like? That sounds like crystals and metals. Mm-hmm. Now, again, white you would associate directly because of what we were just talking about before with crystals, because with metals. But we know the sperm connects to a more crystalline substance. But it's about what the sperm receives that changes it in the moments of it becoming more than just a minuscule sperm cell. Black and white. Black is the overall coding of this matrix, whether it be physical, spiritual, or anything else. Black is the housing of that code, White is the main fabric of that code. It can reflect all colors of the chakra system. Black absorbs all colors of the chakra system. If you think about in Kemetic mythology again, if you think about that and you think about the black sun and the white sun, what do they call? They call the black sun the sun of intent, Rahu. And I think the white sun is associated with Tahu.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know it was.
Now, when they say the black sun of intent, if I am white in terms of the chakra system and not just a person, and I'm a seed, think about plants. Most plants have a white, pinkish base when it comes to their seeds at that starting phase. A lot of them, at least. A lot of them do.
Yeah, yeah, they
And
do.
they receive the nutrients from the soil.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Now, if you think about that for a second, that completely reverses what we know and what I just said. White would be what? The absorbing substance in that instance. And black would be the reflecting substance. If you understand that, and that whole essence is flipped in the sense of nature in the outside world, then that makes the world seem like it's what? Upside down, right? Okay. If the world is upside down, if the world behaves in a totally different state than how it behaves on the inside of the body, then what would it sound like we live in an everyday life? Like we live in hell, right? If the world is upside down, we live in hell, man. Think about it. The world was not the way it was thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. The machine progressing of how we perform as beings is so mechanical and so much so associated with death that our understanding of life is skewed. It's because we're not performing it from the right aspect. We're not doing it from the inside out. We're doing it from the outside in. So people who are obsessed,
balance of those two things, or
exactly.
All right.
It should because clearly, one and the other exist. So they have to exist in order to have each other. Light and dark exist. But the vilification of one or the other is imbalance. The raising up of one being good more than the other is an imbalance. It's that they exist, they're connected. Just like blood and sperm, they're connected. You cannot separate either one. If you look in a sense of spiritual warfare, and you think of the bodies, my viewpoint in terms of the different realms of this world, the physical and the astral, there are beings here in bodies that are influencing our everyday lives. And their main aspect, or their main goal, is the control and the production of melanin. That surrounds the organ trafficking system, that surrounds the school system, that surrounds the food industry, the music industry, the controlling of frequencies, all of that controls the different production of melanin on many different levels.
I hit you with a curveball.
Please.
Maybe not a curveball, but a sort of a sidestep. Because you keep bringing up Atlantis at the same time as you bring up Lemuria and metals and crystals. Where I'm curious, I guess, maybe like the timeline, or how did our world today come from Lemuria, come from Atlantis? They coexisting places? Is it one after the other? Is it one good, one bad? Is it one gone corrupt? Like what you said, one uses crystals and absorbs, and one uses metals and sort of projects. Were they? Because I never noticed that there's actually not too much on Lemuria anyways, unless you do a lot of digging. Whereas there's a ton of stuff on Atlantis. There's movies, there's video games, there's comic books, there's of course a bunch of mythology, a ton of mythology on it.
Then that should let you know what Atlantis is associated with in the modern day then. If there's so much on Atlantis, not enough on Lemuria, then who the hell is controlling the world right now? The residuals of Atlantis.
Good point.
And it's not necessarily
good point.
It's just like, it's like Rome. Rome is a residual of Atlantis. Rome came into being following the fall of Atlantis. Now, I like the way that Q Reeves and Bobby Hemmett go into it because it's a more fluid understanding. And much as I would say with them too, or much as I would say as they do, history is fluid. What was true yesterday can be different tomorrow. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything and this is how it is and that's it. What I will say is that if we look and we take the modern applications of life to understand what happened in the past, then I'll say it like this. Atlantis was produced from Lemuria. Mu, the land of Mu, that's the founding or the original name of Lemuria, or one of the original names of Lemuria. Mu. What the hell moves? A damn cow. A cow. What is a cow associated with in Kemetic mythology? Fertility.
Oh, yeah.
Now, who was the goddess with the cow horns who was associated with fertility? Hathor. Hathor was the teacher, the balancer. She was associated with Maya and Isis. She was a daughter of, in many ways, she was a daughter of Ra. She was a daughter of Isis, but that don't really fucking matter. Mu. Atlantis. If you look in Mayan tales, they'll say we are the children of Atlan. We are the descendants of the people of Atlan. They're in the southern part of these two continents. We in the north, you have to observe the distinction between the northern and the southern to understand Atlantis and Lemuria. The southern hemisphere of this world is more associated with the divine feminine. It is older. It bears more fertile soil. It's more fruitful. It's associated with the divine feminine because it literally is what was birthed and then allowed the northern and other forming parts of the world to exist. One way I like to put it, you ever heard of Martin Kenny?
No, I'm still tripping on northern is masculine and southern is feminine because that's.
well, think about it. Think about it. In Egypt, what did they say about the way the Nile flowed? The Nile flowed downward, but it didn't flow downward towards the south. They observed it flowing downward towards the north.
Uh-huh.
That's how they saw it. There was higher elevations in the south.
Uh-huh.
Now, Martin Kenny does a very good forming of how he sees the world to truly be shaped. If you, again, not trying to go with the whole this or that, the dichotomy of the way the world exists now, the flat earth or the round earth, I don't play those games. I know that it's one and the same.
The donut, Doug.
Hey, there you go, my nigga. That's it. That's it. Look at Homer. Shout out Q
one
again.
that likes the donuts?
Shout out Q again because he mentioned this on his live months ago. And then I think recently too. My nigga, you a plug for info, both you and him. So I look it up. But he talks about in The Simpsons. Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, keep lying.
He talks about in The Simpsons that they talk about an order. And then this was in the Flintstones, this was in the Jetsons, this about modern day life. There was orders that they had. If you think about those like white men, a lot of them in the 50s and 60s belonged to different clubs.
Yeah.
You know, different. A lot of them were moose clubs.
Yeah.
Associated with the moose hats, all that other shit. But it was Mu. Mu. This has to do with Mu. This has to do with fertility. Now, why would a bunch of males be associated with something that has to do with fertility if we're talking about it in the feminine sense, in the reflective sense? Homer's simp son. What is a simp? It's a plain, dumb, ignorant motherfucker. Like at the end of the day, it's somebody who doesn't have any substance to him. He's reflecting whatever the world is around him. A Homer. What do people give a negative association? Homosexuality. What is that? Associating with one gender, being sexually attracted or sexually compatible with the same gender. There's nothing wrong with that. That's human. That's real. But if you understand what it is that they're trying to do with that, they're showing you. They're trying. Okay. I'm trying to break it down for myself in a more simpler sense. They tried to show you what happened in the past. Atlantis and Lemuria. Lemuria was more associated with the feminine. It was associated with women who were more connected to the astral realm, the realm of Fantasia. Women who could go in and out of the spiritual realm, who were so beautiful, who were so powerful that they could manifest anything at will. And they were associated with reflecting nature around them. They became what was around them. It was if they wanted to summon fire, if they wanted to control water, if they wanted to produce air, any of that, they had to mirror the bodies of that which held it. You know, we associate Earth with a woman, Gaia, the body.
Mother Nature.
Mother Nature. There you go. Mother Nature, Father Time. Fertility, vitality. Legacy and immortality. Vitality is the immortality, the sperm. The sperm is the transference of that information. We didn't always have babies the way we do now. That was not always the way the game went. There was one point in time, there was nothing but women on this planet. The hermaphroditic lines of women. It was nothing but women. Hermaphrodites, mind you, but a feminine fluidity of that.
But this is a fact.
In the conscious community, most people observe it as it just is what it is. But if you want to look it up, if you look at the bones that they find in Southern Africa, most of those bones are women. Most of the bones they find when trying to make a distinction between Homo sapien and Homo sapien sapien, between Homo habilis or Homo epithecus or whatever, those are mostly feminine bones. The older they get, the further back they go, those are feminine bones. Those are women. And it's not like there were no men, but we're talking about a dominant feature. We're in the reality of the woman.
No, that would make perfect sense, because even some cannabis works that way. Like you can have female plant. Like most people don't know the cannabis plants is male and female, but you can get a female to seed itself and produce a viable seed, but you can't do that with a male plant. The male plant is a male plant.
Exactly, but think about it like this: what? Well, shit. Now we're making this shit simple. Think about the female chromosomes and the male chromosomes. Female is XX. A male is XY. You put them together. XXXY. That shows the ratio of the planet's population. This is a ratio of 3 to 1. Women outnumber men on this planet. It's still here. The reality of where we were and where we're going and where we're at right now is still here. Women are still the dominant identity on this planet. You have to keep the creator in the dominant feature to keep creating, to keep going. But the point is that women were not always able to produce men by themselves. XXXY. Men were the only ones who carried that Y gene. Though, if you look at people like Osset A. Walker on her channel, Lucid Living TV, she talks about a tribe of women called the Namalulu. You know, a lot of this information is channeled. And to me, that's more pure than just finding it from any article. Because if you trust yourself, if you trust your level of discernment as a human being, and information will come to you anyway. It's in the light, it's in the plants, it's in everything. Information is in everything. If this reality is composed of light and darkness is nothing but information in different states, then you have all your answers right there. But anyway. The moon and the sun. Fertility and vitality. Blood and sperm. Atlantis and Lemuria. Lemuria became Atlantis. Or I should say Atlantis was an offshoot of Lemuria. And the empires that came from that were Sumeria, were Kemet, were Kush. If you look at their origins, their mythologies, they're all connected. They all speak. If you look at the oldest adaptations of the story of Isis, Osiris, and Heru, and Set, those were originally all goddesses. There was no male identity in that. There was none. Even the sun god was a feminine identity, but it was younger. It was younger. It was younger. If you think about light and darkness, light, what's the fastest traveling thing in this universe? It's light. No, it's darkness. Darkness is already there. It's all around us. It's there. The light is produced within the darkness. If you think about a diamond in a coal mine, the pressure, the weight, that produces diamonds. Diamonds reflect light. But the metals that push against each other, that crush everything to a level to where they change their chemical compounds, they change their structure, that turns it into a crystal that you get from the secretion of the oils in blood that can create sperm. Then you understand what a man and a woman really are. If you understand the Bible, the two bulls, that connects to what I was talking about before with the Simpsons, the Flintstones, the Jetsons, the Orders of the Moon. Two men, the two masculine identities in the Bible, the God and the devil. This is about overpowering the divine feminine. This is about creating a world where you can control the sperm development. Black men are the utmost affected in organ trafficking because of sperm. It's not that they're more special. It's not about that. It's about the energy deposits. It's about the access to melanin. It's raw information in your hands. That's the white substance. That's the seed. If you can control the seed, you can control what the body will look like, will do, will serve. If you control the white, you can control the black in that instance. If you look at the way this system is set up now, if you look in the civil rights movement, it was killing more white people than they were killing black people. They were killing white people on their way to killing black people. They were controlling the minds of the masses in order to dictate what would happen throughout. Black people were at the center of everything in this country. They still are. Black people were at the center of media. They were at the center of entertainment. They were at the center of government. Most people don't know a black woman ran, not Harry, it was either Harry Truman or Eisenhower's campaign. She was behind that, a black woman. Most people don't know that if you look
50s? At it's crazy.
In the 50s, right? In the 50s, a 60-something-year-old black woman was in charge of that.
Damn.
My great-grandmother was one of the first black women to work at the Pentagon in 1948. At that time, they had a wave of black women coming in. If you think of Hidden Figures, if you think of what was happening at that point in time, black women were the computers. They were the information filtration system.
Mm-hmm.
Melanin. It's the functioning of melanin. These are the beings who control manifestation. If I say that there are 3 major pineal glands in the body, here, here, and here, at the lower parts that are at the centers of where the chakras receive their source of information, third eye, the heart, the womb. What you see is where life comes from, how life behaves. You see where it gets its fertility and vitality. You see where it goes. I know for a lot of people, I probably not shitting on nobody. I just know I'm talking in circles because I just know myself.
No, you're dropping some serious knowledge. Don't worry about it.
But at the end of the day, the only reason it sounds like certain, and I appreciate it, but the only reason it sounds like I'm talking in circles is because it's that fucking simple. It's that simple. It's in your face every day. It's everywhere. There is nowhere on this planet that you cannot find the truth unless you are blind to it. And the only way you are blind, you're not born blind to this shit. You become blind to it. If you are information, if you are truth, and you shield yourself from it, then that means that it was placed there, just like those telomeres. Think about what the Bible says. Noah, Adam, all them niggas was living to 400, 500, 600 years old. And then at one point in time, my seed shall not abide in men, and your years shall be numbered to 120. That's very specific. That's if you look in the Sumerian text and the Sumerian tablets, and it talks about the Sumerian kings list, it talks about all of them, all the kings living are ruling for a total of 120 shars.
Yeah.
140 shars. One shar is 3,600 years. That has.
Yeah. And they were doing 120 shards apiece?
So the total of their rules with all, I think it was like 10 or 11 kings, was 120 shars.
Oh, I see.
So some of them were like 10 shars, some were like 50 shars, it was spread around like that. But I mean, if you look at that in Sumerian tablets and then you go over to Chinese mythology, their kings were living for 80,000 years, 10,000 years, ruling for 20,000 years. If you look in the damn Torah, there were kings who ruled for 10, 20,000 years. Damn. What the hell is up with that? There's only so much you can really just throw out at people without them wanting to go get it for themselves. We could do this all day long. Like, I respect the way you go into information. I was watching when you and Ashir were breaking down Judas Iscariot's text, when y'all breaking down like the whole prophecy behind that. And the amount of shit in there, man, it's just like, damn, people. One thing I wanted to show. Give me 1 second. When you think of the Yuga calendar, when you think of the zodiac signs, just to take a break from the whole fertility, vitality, all that other shit.
Yeah, I'm over here stressing it out, dude. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Look, man, I got scoliosis. I'm right there with you.
I got
work it out.
That 5G, dog.
Exactly, man. You done said some shit, and they probably who knows who didn't pick it up. If you don't have any oxygen, you don't have flexibility. You can't do nothing. You can't do nothing. But I don't know if you can see this or not, or see it well enough.
Move it to your right a little bit. There you go. A little back to the left. There you go. Yeah.
All right, word. So these are the zodiacs. This follows the path of the sun and the moon. If you look in, I think Homer talks about this. Not no damn Homer Simpson, but Homer.
I think
the damn Greek philosopher. Yeah,
right, or whatever he was.
Oh yeah, something. Some
historian,
fancy
the fucking historian.
Yeah, some fancy ass name for some nigga who had the knowledge all to himself. If you look at it, he mentions a 13th and a 14th zodiac. There aren't just 12. Me, the way I try to break it down for myself, I believe there are 18. And the only reason I believe there are 18 is following the path of orbits, of elliptical circulation and all that shit. Mm-hmm. Following the path of the sun and the moon. And look, here, I showed you, I put the south at the top and the north at the bottom. If you look at that, and then you look at what ancient adaptations of how they saw the shape of the earth, it's something like this. The earth in and of itself is that oblique sphere, but it's not just a sphere and it's not just flat. It's composed of different layers. You ever wonder, one of my best friends, Julian, brought this up, that the reason that the sun and the moon look so close in shape, in NASA put this out, they said that the distance of the moon from the sun is equidistant to, I think, the relevance and the size of one another. And that's just a convenient way of saying we don't fucking know what that's talking about. In the ancient world, they observed the luminaries of the suns and the moon to be within our atmosphere. That's why they look so close. That's why they're so close to the horizon. I believe that. I'm gonna openly say that. I don't really care. But they observed that we as a planet revolved around an even larger star, and that those stars were different reflections of the light of that star. Now, if that's the case, if you see these different layers right here, this one, not the absolute center right here, but this would be our world. This would be the 7 continents.
Yeah.
And then this would be what they called Lemuria, but I won't directly say it's Lemuria, or what they would also call Mars. This would be Venus or whatever. It wasn't that they were naming the planets themselves as separate from the Earth, and there are other worlds, obviously, but they were talking about the worlds within our world that were separated by walls. What do they talk about the electromagnetic field around the Earth, the toroidal field? I say it's like a wall. They say it separates us, it blocks us from space like a damn wall. It blocks us from every planet has an electromagnetic field. And if you think about the way the maps were drawn, think about the North Pole. And you think about what's at the center. You can't get past that ice wall, just like you can't get past the ice wall on the South Pole. Within that ice wall, there's caved in shape or caved in civilization, separate continents that exist at the center, which is Eden. If you look in Vedic scriptures, they talk about Mount Meru, Mount Eden, or Edon, or Edu, or Meru, that exists at the center of the earth.
I was just about to ask how this plugs in with Hollow Earth theory, because that was my gateway drug into spirituality.
Man, that put me on, man.
I was probably your age. I was probably 21, and I was like, that was it. Hollow Earth. I was like, what the Hollow Earth now?
Yeah, what the hell is that?
I did, dude, for a few years, and that was it. It was all over for me.
I was wild. Like I was with one of my older brothers, Rod, and we were I was talking with one of his friends, and one of his friends was just like, you just look at the shape of the damn earth and you see that, yeah, it curves, but it's just too convenient. It's too awkward for this just to be a straight up oblique sphere. Like it looks like we're under a dome, which makes sense if you think about it. If you can't really, if you think about our atmosphere and how thick they say it is, we talk about the layers, the ionosphere, the stratosphere, the whatever sphere, I don't give a fuck. The whole point is that they're talking about the different layers of the different worlds surrounding ours. And something such as Venus and Mars, Saturn and Jupiter, those were the other suns and moons that orbited those other parts of Earth. Now, Martin Kenny, what he did was he showed you this, and he gives a really great model. If you check out Seven Bomar's page, it's called Understanding. I'm going to send you some stuff in the messenger thing too. But if you check that out, he gives you a straight up model of what it would look like. The only thing that I would be in a discrepancy with is that the further out you go, the lower it gets within those separate parts of the global sphere. I believe the higher they get, simply because if you look at the northern pole, it's sunken in. So that means we exist in a higher elevation that became up and spread out. If you think of the way they build stairs, everything is connected. If you think of the way they built the pyramids, just kept going up and out, up and out. That's literally the earth. What is the word that they describe as the earth? Not just the surface, which they call Jeb in Egyptian mythology. They call it the Ben-Ben. The Ben-Ben is the damn pyramid. That's the word for pyramid. That's literally, the Ben-Ben. Think about it, the Ben-Ben, the different circulations and time and observance of time and the sun and the moon of the Ben-Ben. What the hell is in London? The Big Ben.
Yeah.
What is a big ass clock, a big ass tower? What's on top of it? Just to put it in a very simple term, a damn pyramid. It's a multi-layered part of a pyramid. It's right there.
For all to see.
For everybody to fucking see.
With eyes.
Hey, man. One thing I wanted to ask you about, just to get like, when you're out and you're growing your plants, what do you feel from them? Like, do you feel like you're communicating with them? Do you feel like you're getting a sense of like a different world or anything like that when you're out there with them? How do you feel?
Yeah, for sure. It's like the thought that runs through my head pretty much 24/7 with plants is how many of them I can grow. I literally imagine Eden, and I'm like, fuck, it'd be dope if I could grow a forest the size of California. Or I'm like, how many people would it take to plant like 15 trees? It'd take like a couple of months to have California covered. Like, it's not that. That's what I'm with my plants. I'm like, all right, it's just a couple, but I'm like,
just spread it more and more.
That's all I want, dude. I want to spread them.
And you said your name is Keith, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which means wood dweller. It's like someone who dwells in the woods, in the forest. And my middle name is Cypress, which is a type of tree. The fucking cypress.
Oh, your middle name is Cypress.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's fucking wild, dude.
Common consensus in the old world is that we choose our names when we get here. It's that we give a daughter would give the inspiration of her name to her father, and a son would give the inspiration of his name to his mother. One of my best friends, Ndele, his mother dreamed his name. That's his name is Ndele. I was just like, whoa, man, that's heavy, man. That's dope. Really? That's crazy. That's wild. And I'm just like, that makes a lot of sense though. Because if you talk about life path numbers and astrological numbers, then of course we choose our damn names. Now because your name is Keith, because it has to do with the wood dweller, because your middle name is Cypress, because you have such an attachment to the plant world, I'm sure of it, are connected to Osiris. Osiris, in Egyptian mythology, they said he was the god of the underworld, but that he was as his father, Jeb. Jeb was the surface world. Osiris was the underworld, the upward. What color was Osiris? It was green. That was plant life. Yeah, Osiris is green. He's green. He's green wrapped in white cloth. Green wrapped in white cloth. What the hell is a plant seed, the root of a plant?
Yeah.
It could be any damn different color, but it still starts at white. That wrapping, it looks like stripes. As it gets
in water, it turns green. Those leaves come out.
Exactly. So what I really wanted to talk about when I got on here was the 144,000.
Yeah, you did bring that up.
That I because I'm like to the point of obsession. I just want to get to the deeper meaning of it.
But to be honest, I haven't gone into that too much. It comes up often. It's one of those things, and I'm just like, I'll get there. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But if okay. Man, I came here to cook with gas, man. Cooking with fire, shit. The 144,000 seals in the Bible are the 144,000 sealed by God. They're not, in reality, if you look at old Vedic scriptures, we don't just have 7 or 9 chakras, we have 144,000. The different energy centers all over the body, the different points. That includes the pineal gland. That includes the 9 main chakras.
Is that what they base acupuncture on?
There you go.
Nice.
That's that point system, that pressure applied. Now, I set this up for myself. Can you see it?
Yeah, back it up just a hair though. That's good.
Okay, perfect. So we have the 9. Forget the names under them. I just gave that just as an association with myself. But like the 9 main chakras: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and then black and white. Then you have the 18 ubiquities that has to do with the zodiac signs. That also has to do with the 18 main gods in most pantheons. Then you have the 27 commandments. That comes from the whole as above, so below thing. That, what do they say hell looks like? Especially Dante's Inferno, the 9 circles of hell, right?
Yeah. Depends. I was about to say, depends on what you did.
Exactly. Your ass could be in the 7th getting tossed up, or in the 9th getting burnt like a mug. But either way, it's about rotation. It's the elliptical flow of energy in the world, in the earth, in and on the earth. And my understanding of as above, so below clearly means that there are 9 circles of hell. There are 9 domains of the earth spread out like this, and then there are 9 circles of heaven. So 27 commandments. Now, I have the 90 continuums. 90 continuums would be the baser elements that are and that compose everything around us. That's that. I even brought it down to like earth, fire, water, air, time, magic, life, death, creation, destruction. I had to separate them to like give that relevance. And I think that's what the 144,000 are. I think that they are both the spiritual description, and each one is its own molecule. Each one is its own interpretation of melanin. Melanin is everything. So clearly it can be divided into something that describes every aspect of life. So if that's true, then that means that these 144,000, with the main 144, if you think of, even in the Bible, they talk about angels and demons leading their own legions.
Yeah.
Each one had a legion. If you look in Japanese mythology, they talk about the night parades of demons and the day parades of angels. And each one either had 100 or 1,000. I think that at the baser level, in the spiritual sense, they exist all around us in nature, but that there are also, to equate it as above, so below, human beings who represent and who are the physical manifestation of each of those on the physical plane. So the reason I said before that you could associate to Osiris, especially with your connection to the earth, your name. Do you know anything about like your numbers, like the numbers associated with your name or anything like that?
I looked it up while I can't remember what it is though. I'd be guessing. I think it's a 7, but I would think I would be guessing.
Oh, shit.
We can look it up real quick.
Look, we can do this right here, right now.
Hit me.
Hell yeah, man. Give me 1 second. Oh.
Nice, sir.
So damn disorganized. It's a damn shame, man. Okay.
Laria, 1960. No, he's building. He's just coming up. He's a young cat who's just well beyond his years. But he has an Instagram, but you don't have necessarily an online following where you teach and give info. No,
I'm straight up a newbie in this whole thing, man. The whole thing I'm after, because I'm after more of trying to build a movement with everybody who already has an existing platform. Because I want us all to connect. I'm trying to get everybody connected, not in a leadership sense. Everybody is their own leader, but I'm really trying to develop something where we can all move forward as a collective. Because I see us as extremely necessary, man.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. My first channel before it got shut down by YouTube for talking about things like this. Was called Welcome Home for that reason. The whole idea behind it was like we're all fucking exploring the darkness of universe, and I just wanted the channel to be somewhere we all came together, shared the stories, shared the experiences. It's like the tavern. You take your boots off, you have some fucking beer at the counter.
That's right.
Firelight, and you know what I'm saying?
That's right. What do they call the earth in the oldest translations of it? It's a playground, man. It's a damn playground.
Damn.
This is where you came to have fun. This is where you came to get back with family. This is a family reunion. That's the type of attitude you got to have with it. I appreciate that. I respect that, man. That's okay. So look, tell me how I need to position it for you.
That's cool.
That's cool. Okay. So each letter is associated with a number. And that's simply because our alphabet comes from things like gematria, things like the Goetia systems of letters, the Hebrew systems of letters, because in the Hebrew alphabet, every letter was associated with a number. Mm-hmm. And it's very easy to do with English. But the English alphabet is 26 letters. Now we know in numerology, especially looking at the relevance of 26, is half. It's missing its other set of numbers. So there's an entirely different set of alphabetical number system associated with English, but that's for another day. Sure. All right. So how do you spell your first name?
My government is Keith.
Keith. And then how have you changed it yourself?
I spell it with a Y.
Okay. So Keyth word. All right, word. So let's do the first one. Divide them up. All right. So K is 2, E is 5, I is 9, T is 2, and H is 8. So all we do is 2 plus 9 is 7, 7 plus 9 is 16, 16 plus 2 is 18, 18 plus 8, give me a minute because my math is terrible, 26. So that's 8. So that's all it is. It's just associating it with, you add those up because that number system, numerology, again, is very powerful. So let's just look at 8. 8 has to do with Saturn. 8 has to do with, what is 8? Turn to the side.
Infinity.
That's right. It's the continuum. It's the usage of everything in everything. And what is the everything in everything? That's plant life. That's there's we were talking about anthocyanin and thiocyanate before that have gold deposits, silver deposits, copper deposits in them. Our skin, our blood has gold and silver and copper in them. Everything is in everything. That's the usage of melanin. Now, 8 is continuation, 8 is infinity, 8 is cycles, and 8 is succession. When do you mind me asking, not to blow your shit up, but when's your birthday?
Yeah, not to blow your shit up. Hey, you guys, put your voodoo dolls away.
Well, yeah, okay.
It's fine. It's fine. I ain't scared.
I'm gonna put mine out there too.
Yeah, it's April 13th.
Oh, happy belated birthday, my nigga. Damn, all right. Yeah, word. 13.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. I turned 13 on Friday the 13th on Good Friday. On some shit.
Whoa.
Yo, I know.
Whoa, this is what I'm saying, man. This is what I'm saying. And you have every right to know how special you are. But I can't tell you. That's that. Not I can't tell you because I'm hiding something, but I have no right to tell somebody who they are, No matter how much a person knows, they have no right to tell the person who they are. Uh-huh. What I will say is that in my interpretation, 13 is the most important number in the occult. 13 has to do with the ocean. 13, 1 plus 3, because you just reduce everything in numerology, is 4. Mm-hmm. 4 has to do with a lot. If you want to talk about it, shout out Q again. 4 is stability, 4 is nature, 4 is direction. But 4 also is death. Now, again, because everything in the time period that we exist now has been given right and left, this or that kind of connotation, people will be scared as shit when it comes to death. But no, death is change. Again, what is a sperm? A sperm is dead. A sperm dies before it can become, a life. Mm-hmm. Plants have to die. The seed has to die. The seed dies before it becomes a plant. Think about that. You're 4. You're 13. That's Crazy. April 13th. So you're in Aries.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. All right. And the bull, the bi-bull. Again, this is two bulls. This is two forms of those fertilities. This is God and the devil. And this is the bi-bull, the bull and the ram, the above and the below. Now, I said I would put mine out there. My birthday is January 18th, 1999. Capricorn gang.
Yeah, I have a lot of Cap homies. See, they got a lot of.
I'm not surprised. Everybody's associated in the spiritual world. You come here with your homies. You come here with your groups. You'll all end up finding each other. That's just how it rolls. I got quite a few Aries friends and quite a few. Yeah, man, we roll like that.
Nice.
But overall, wow, man, I just did not. Wow, that's crazy. There's just so much to unpack in that. So 13 has to do with the ocean, but 13 is foundation. 13 is nourishment. 13 is the complete. If you think of astrology and the 12 signs, there are 18, but in the original foundation of the zodiac, you have the 12 and you have the 13th. And Q talks about this a lot too, that the 13th was the main body, the God body that was sacrificed for the 12 to inhibit the rest of these known worlds.
Oh, shit.
The 13th was sacrificed, but think about it, it died. It died so it could grow. That sounds like a plant. That sounds like a sperm. That sounds like everything that we know in the life. If that's the case, I don't know which one. I'm not going to pretend like I know which one, but people in the spiritual community are so connected to the 144,000. It's just that not all of them know it. Each of them is a manifestation of the 144,000. If you think of how souls and spirits interact on the earth, not everybody on this plane has a soul. And it's not a good and bad thing. You got to get away from that. People, y'all got to get away from that whole good and bad relevance. Because God operates all. The real universal God goes beyond religion, goes beyond books. It's the basis of all molecules. It operates the all. So God is as much a Jew as it was a German soldier. You know, God was a slave as it was the slave master. It's everything. I am you, you know?
The all.
It's the all. But again, sometimes one thing in the universe may be more in use than the other. So in order for me to have a body, I have to have a body that can exhibit all environments in the surrounding. I have to have a body that can take all climates of every environment. That's not just to do with weather and all that shit. That on all planes. And melanin is at the root of that. And specifically Black Americans are at the root of that, because Black Americans, and then honestly, if people open their minds, white Americans too, because we are the most mixed beings on this planet. Everybody and their mama and their grandmama came here. Everybody. So the blood mixture in that, the deepening of that red, that is at the center of what is happening now in this plane. It's about Americans. Every country is its own dimension, man. Think about how much shit is so different, even state to state. It's all its own dimension because it plays by its own rules because of the beings that dwell there, the energy that is developed from there. If you think about, in 1950, our government launched an experiment that was the predecessor to Project Monarch. And they started poisoning the bread supply of this little town outside the south of France. And it was a cocktail of a bunch of shit, like LSD, all this other shit. You can look this up. I don't know the original name of the project. But what they did was they poisoned the bread supply and people started losing their minds. They started jumping off of mountains, started jumping off of buildings, thinking the niggas could fly, all this other crazy shit. Like people were killing it was wild, man. And what it was an experiment. This is in the south of France, so you know who lives there. This is white people, to see how it would interact with whatever levels of melanin they still had within their body. But now, if you think about crack in the Black community in America, the amount of stuff that has happened to Black people in America, we should be dead. We should be dead, man. We should be dead. And when I say Black, let me make this clear in just terms of my opinion to everybody out there. I include Latinos, I include Indians, I include Native Americans. I include that because Black is bigger than a nation. Black is not just Nigeria. Black is not just South Africa. Black is not just Egypt. Black is the all-encompassing. But of those people specifically, in order to understand history, you have to include them. Now, red. Red is at the basis. Before you get to white, you have red at the basis of the chakra system. That is the doorway into manifestation. That red, there is no specific coloring when it comes to the number systems, but to me, red is most associated with time because it took time to get here, it took time to come through here. Blood is time. Blood is fertility and sperm, blood and fertility are oh my gosh, blood and sperm are fertility and vitality. And they're associated because of that. Think about white and red being so close together. That's your gateway here, man. So if you think about that, right? If you think about all these drugs that they pumped into us, what they were trying to do was disrupt that line of manifestation through our energy channels. They were doing that for a reason. They were doing that because they were trying to see who was going to come out as what. And if they could see who was going to come out as what, then they could determine who they can make do what. And again, for me, this connects right back to the 144,000. Everybody on this planet is special. Everybody in the fucking universe is special simply because they exist. There's no such thing as an insignificant person. There's no such thing as a stupid person. There's the levels at which you exist, but everybody is special. The 144,000 are the pillars of the universe. We cannot exist without them. I'm gonna openly say, wholeheartedly, in all humility, I believe I'm one. Just because there's so much shit I cannot chop up to coincidence in terms of my life. I can't. I refuse to. When I look at the world around me and how it relates to everything, if I don't make those connections, then I'm cheating myself out of a lot of shit, man.
Yeah, I feel you.
Know?
Almost like you're doing yourself a disservice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Who are you to expect somebody else to tell you who you are? What kind of shit, what kind of sense does that make? That makes no damn sense. Why do people consistently rely on a government, on a church, on a doctrine to tell them what they should and should not do, who they are, where they come from? That makes no sense. But the disconnectedness between self is what disrupts the reality around us. It's what created everything that's going on right now. Everything. The death, the murder, all the sickness, all of that. This shit has not always been here like this. And it will not always be here like this. That's what's happening right now. Earth is cleaning house, man. Earth is blacking the hell out. Earth is coming for people. And it's not just like you don't get to be here because you fucked up and this and that. No, it's claiming everybody because it has to do with bodies. In reality, if a man ejaculates and 500 million sperm come out, not every fucking body is getting an egg. We know this. That's off the bat. You fight to get here. That's instinctual. You fight your way to get to this realm. Mm-hmm. And if you're fighting your way to get to this realm, then that means you're coming here with a purpose. You're coming here to do something. Man, that's what spiritual warfare is. That's what my whole relevance in bringing that up was, is that there are powers who do not amount to the real universal power that we all carry, but who still try and fuck with it anyway, that are here, that seek to create their own kind of outcome. Coronavirus, AIDS, hunger. If you look, Ashir even talked about this. She said that all these meat plants and factories is closing down. They forcing that shit to close down. Now, mind you, it's both getting out of the space of good and bad is for a reason. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But just to stick with the whole program of what we're trying to really bring out here is that right now, people need to get connected. People need to come together, because if you do not, you will be left behind. That's the only role that survival of the fittest plays, is the group. That's the only role it plays in life, is the group. Survival of the fittest is not, you were born here to run a damn rat race. No, that's foolish. Why would I come here to run a damn race? That makes no sense. I raced here to race here? What the hell? Somebody cheated me. Somebody played with my head. The whole point is that you are coming back to the collective. This is about the personal and the tribal, the individual and the collective. And if you look at that, that's in the sun and the moon,
Mm-hmm.
the mother and the father.
The masculine and the feminine.
That's right. Fertility and vitality. It's all in the same shit.
What are the 144 bringing? What's the role? Is it that they're just facilitating the new Earth? Is that?
They've always been here. They're part of Earth. They're part of the universe. They're always going to be here. Certain of them, I will say, have certain roles that play significantly into what's going on right now. So right now, I would say is that the gates are opening up to the other realms of this reality and all realities. The only reason the gates were sealed, if you think about, Bobby Hemmett really does a good job of saying it like this, is a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. Caterpillar closes itself off and it heats up. If people really studied the heat production in a caterpillar, you could wipe out nuclear energy. Fuck nuclear energy in comparison to what a caterpillar does in a cocoon. It heats itself up, but in what? In darkness. It walls itself off so that once it produces itself, it breaks down those doors. Those doors don't exist anymore. It can go wherever the hell it wants to. We exist on this reality, going through the shit we're going through to prepare ourselves for a new reality. The 144,000 are only a part of building the way. Everybody is going to change. But if you shut yourself off to that change, if you shut yourself off to self, to what you have to offer for you and the world around you, you will be left the hell behind. The 144,000 are really only posts. Everybody is connected to them. Everybody serves a role within and outside of them. But they specifically are the usherers, the angels, and the demons. What is a demon? A demon in the ancient world was a daemon, daemon, day, moon, sun, moon, angel, angel, angle. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
The different roles, the different aspects, the shapes of the world around them. The good and the bad mean nothing. That's too small. That's too fucking small to really express who you are and what you're here to do. That's too fucking small. And I refuse for my life to be associated with good and bad. We all fuck up here. We all do shit that we didn't want to do, that we regret, and all this other shit. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do next? Where are you going to go now? What are you going to do with your time? Time is limitless. Time is everywhere. It's a field. Space-time. It's a field. This linear shit, it's relevant, but it's not, because it's you trying to fit inside of something you don't need to. You see what I'm saying? Like, just to connect it back to you, to connect it to Osiris, even bigger than that, the plant world, the world of developing the body. You are the death that brings life. And that doesn't have to be bad. That's just showing people that you have to leave something behind to get this new frame. You left something so damn small to get to something you never imagined you could. From a little white seed to something that could be blue, purple, green. A shrimp, because of the layerings of its eyes, sees 13 more colors than we do.
No, fuck, does it really?
Think about that. What the hell? I can't even picture that, because I'm stuck in this state of red and blue, black and white, this and that. Everything connects. Everything. Everybody connects. One thing, let's move past that. Let's go to the etymology thing, because I love etymology. And again, shouting out Q Reeves. The shit he does with that is amazing. Keith. Ka, if you want to say, okay, let's look at the breaking down of the original, just because that's what the both are very significant, because you chose both. And think about it, you chose a new name. What is that? The death of the old name. Mm-hmm. That's the new. And shit, I never did the numbers of it. 2, 5, 7, 2, 8. 2 and 5 is 7, 7 to 7 is 14, 2 plus 7 is 16, 8 plus 16, 4, that's 24, that's 6. Interesting. So you have 8 and you have 6. 6 is enlightenment. 6 is balance. 6 is love. 6 is truth. 6 is union. Thank you, Q. Think about that. You were at an 8. You were at the continuation, the cycle, over and over, the succession, the constant whatever's of what life was giving you. And then you changed your name and you became enlightenment, balance, love, truth, union. You re-solidified yourself in a new form. The difference between the I and the why. Think about that. The difference between the I and the why. Just focus on me and what I'm going through and not my why. Why am I here? There's significance in everything. Like, that shit is crazy, man. That shit is crazy. But going back to you, the green man, you choosing your locks, me seeing your love for Bob Marley, who is very connected to my homie Dick Gregory. I never met him, never met either one of them, but you know what it means to have a connection with somebody who you didn't even meet. You feel that spirit. Bob Marley, God your man, God your doctor. He saw the power in cannabis. There are cannabinoids in our body. We know this.
Yeah.
Bob, 2, 6, 2, 4. That's 10.
Bob.
If you want to go Robert, okay. Shit, because I'm going to find this connection anyway. I'm still working on your timing, bro. Let me know if you need to end this at any time or anything like that.
Finish your thought. I mean, finish your thought.
Good, okay.
Yeah, Gianni, curious.
9, 6, 2, 5, 9, 2. 9 plus 6, 15 plus 2, 17 plus 5 is 22 plus 9 is 31 plus 2 is 33.
Hey.
Now, mind you, 33, again, you reduce it in numerology. That's 6. You connected anyway. You found your new way, man.
That's fucking crazy.
Isn't that fucking wild?
That's crazy.
I'm gonna tell you something else that's crazier. My best friend, my road dog since I was about 9 years old. I ain't trying to throw your business out there, homie, but he's connected with their family. I won't say how, I won't say why, but he's connected to Bob's family. My best friend. So again, taking nothing for coincidence. Nothing for coincidence that we made this connection, that you chose to read my comment, that you chose to say out of the humility and the love in your heart, hey, hop on, man, we got something to talk about. Let's get going. That's the connection. That's the significance in all this. But yeah, that's it, man.
Fuck. That's it. That's a lot. Yeah, that's fucking, it's crazy how things work out, man.
Right, bro?
It's like so crazy that that's why you have to start believing in things that you shouldn't really, that all logic tells you not to believe in.
Exactly. What is logic in comparison to truth? Screw that. Screw that. As Dick Gregory said, truth needs no validation. Truth doesn't need the silliness of knowledge. What the fuck do I need your knowledge for when I'm truth?
I know. It's even the book that I'm reading right now. It talks about that, where they calibrate different. This dude, the Power versus Force book, they somehow managed to calibrate even philosophies to a number scale by testing the frequency of the thought someone has on it. And he's saying it starts off low with negative ones and you go higher. And I think knowledge and wisdom were high up, but they still weren't at joy, for example, or
exactly
bliss, for example, or ecstasy, for example, because it's like, or even the Hermetics say the same thing. It's not all about logic. Logic is half the game. You know what I mean? With pure logic, you're back to that robot state again, with no feeling and no emotion behind it.
Being stuck on the outside in the cold.
Yeah.
You know, and not inside where the work is done, where the heat is at, where the caterpillar becomes the butterfly. Yeah, man.
Where it creates the heat, man, like the caterpillar and the butterfly.
That's right. That's right. That's right, man.
Damn. Do you think logic can apply to everything? I was just talking to someone else. I don't. I mean, I'm not a big. Just to answer, Ken Mikowski says, "Do you think logic can apply to everything?" I just by default, I tend to not think in ultimatums where it's like this is the way every time. That's just me.
It also depends too, just in my opinion, on what you call logic. If you have to break something down to fit a role, And to you, that's logic, then no, it can't be applied. But if logic is just simply trying to understand something in the moment, then yeah, you could do that with anything.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot assign a definition to everything. Think about the divine feminine and masculine. The masculine, in a sense, is order, and the feminine is chaos. Mm-hmm. And chaos, think about that. That's structure and that's freedom. You can't define real freedom. People in America don't know what real freedom looks like. I don't care what class level you're on. You don't know what real freedom looks like because you're scared of it. You're scared of chaos. You think it's the big bad, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But that's a whole nother thing.
The unknown, man. The other half besides logic, I guess the other half of logic would be logic is the masculine. So you could say whatever the feminine counterpart. What we're talking, logic is, is one of the staples of masculinity. It's rigid. It's cold. It's strictly fact-based, no feeling-based, no emotion-based. It's emotion aside. It's feelings aside. It's strictly dealing with the logics of something. We're dealing with the facts of something. Just like you were saying, chaos is the feminine. So chaos is lack of order, lack of structure.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that if you want to find the answer to something, you say you have nowhere to begin, like you have to start from the unknown, which is the feminine, which is chaos. The chaos contains everything, so that you can go through the chaos for answers, and it's a pull from. That's why, like you were just saying, it depends. Like it depends.
Mm-hmm. And if you, and trying to understand something, all you're doing is asking a question. So if you ask a question, then just to put it simply, as old black folks, you got to shut the hell up and listen. You're just listening. You just waiting for a sound. That's
the whole black.
And then when you get into spirituality, there's three eyes, 2 ears, and one mouth. This is one mouth. You know? Wow, man.
But this universe is in divine order, is it not? Good point. I mean, yes, it is in divine order, but it's also like it's in divine order, but you still can't predict everything that's going to happen at every point of time, because there's far too many. There's fucking countless. What's the word I'm looking for? Oh man, what's the word? There's countless different situations that can happen at any given time that we have no control over, that we don't know the bigger picture of. So it's like, yeah, based on my actions of this past month, I can tell where I'll be in 5 years. Just off what am I consuming on TV? What books am I reading? How am I spending my time? I can, okay, in 30 years or in 10 years from now, I'll be here. But that doesn't mean something could change from now. That chaos can be introduced into my life that disrupts the order. I meet one. I just had a child unexpectedly, so that obviously made everything sway out of the way. It doesn't matter how my life was the month before finding out about a child. It was completely skewed everything.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks, man. Speaking of names coming through, that came up because we named him Atlas, right? So check this out. We named him Atlas. Mama was going through just hundreds of names, just hit me with whatever she liked. And I was like, nah. She finally narrowed it down to a few names. Atlas was one of them. And I was like, yo, Atlas is dope. I like that a lot. And then went with Atlas Orion. His middle name was Orion.
Wow, man.
I just you probably heard the story about they just found out about the comet coming through.
Comet Atlas, yeah.
It was the last time it came through was in Egypt, and then at the same time I was listening to there's a couple different beliefs that say souls come from comets. They like ride the comet, and that's how they get dropped off. And I was like, yo, Alice is a little comet, little soul lost from Egypt. Like, what up? Or from whenever
for the movement. You feel me?
Yeah, that's what I thought was like nice. Atlas came in for the movement. He's like, I'm coming, y'all.
Yeah. You know what's going to trip you up more? He has your number. He has your first number. Atlas A1T23L3. So that's 6. A is 1, 7. S is 1, 8.
Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Check that out.
And what is the father and the son? The son is the continuation of the father, the succession, the continuum. Boom. Boom.
It's a trip, dude.
There's no mistaking who he is then.
No. Not a moment.
Man. Much love and praise to the both of y'all. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I dream of being a dad, man. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a fucking blessing, man. It's crazy. So, but if it's a dream of yours, then I hope it works out for you.
Me too, man. Oh my gosh. You're having a big ass head with shit filled, and you ain't got nothing to give it to.
I know. That's why I'm talking online all the goddamn time. I'm like, someone. If it's one person.
That might trip him out later, just like years later, just seeing his dad just like giving shit to the masses. Like, wow, man.
I didn't even think of that, man. Damn. That's crazy. That's crazy. Wild. It's super crazy, man. I didn't think of that at all. Like, fuck. Damn.
Man.
A lot of responsibility on that.
It's just being yourself. That's it, man. Not like I can really say that, I'm not a dad, but like it's just being yourself. They want to see you in action. That's it.
True.
That's it, man. Shit.
Hamel Carr is just thanks for the contribution, Sir Barca.
Hamilcar Barca, Hannibal's father. Yeah.
Wait, what's that?
Hamilcar of Barca. That was Hannibal of Barca's father. So that's that's the son of the father. That's wild. That's wild.
Telling, right?
That's wild.
No shit. Hey man, is it a game? It's got to be a simulation. Sometimes things happen, and I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Like, was this written out? Are we in a play that we just forgot about? But this is all dialed in before, and
it's all that and then some, man. It's all that and then some.
And some.
It's all that and then some. That's why I like to say people. I switched up. Like now, when people like being spiritual and stuff, I'll tell people, bless you, God bless you all the time, or I love you and everything. But I stopped saying blessing because still breaking down the words, be less. Nah.
Yeah, I remember you told me.
Yeah, man. I say be more you. That's it. Be more. The universe, be more. That's it. That, man. Wow.
All right, man. Well,
the powwow is real.
What's that?
I said the powwow is real, man.
Powwow was real as fuck.
Shit,
powwow was real as fuck. Yeah, everyone. I was gonna say I wish I could plug your stuff, but we can't. Put out at least your Instagram. What's your Instagram?
Where my Instagram is my name, Gibron. It's Gibron99, I think. Gibron. And I will say, me and my homies, a few of us, we put together a collective to put out music, and we also put together a collective for investments and whatnot. So best believe y'all will be hearing about all of us.
Yeah, I'm trying to get in on that music life. I got
yes,
some.
Sir.
Oh.
And shit, we're gonna be cooking some shit up. But this whole thing is a movement. This is family connecting. So yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right.
So I appreciate you bringing me on.
Is that what you said it was?
Gibron99, yeah. Gibron99.
That's his Insta. We'll have him on the channel 100 again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, he'll be back for sure. Everybody say thank you for the homie coming out. And also thank you from me for coming out. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You got to thank me. Shit. And thank you for bringing me on, man. Like, not to be a broken record, but for real, this is getting ready to change the game. No matter whatever level you think it's on, I appreciate that. You are a gateway for everybody. That's that forward.
Trying.
That's that gateway. Yeah, man. So much love, King. Much love.
Same. All right, dog. Well, I'll message you. I'll message you tomorrow just to touch base and see what up and see what other things we can get in the movement and whatnot.
All right, word. I appreciate it. Peace and love, everybody. Thank you for listening. I appreciate y'all and all my family who turned out. I see y'all. I love you all. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Peace out, everybody. Peace out, dog.
Peace out, homie.